Good afternoon, this is Jennifer Barrera, today on therapies, therapy stories, video cinema, music, laws, and so much more. I will be discussing it again, the subject of insult, and then how we take it from a creator's perspective. So whenever you're creating something, rather, some people go into installation, rather they do work on stories, rather they're working on your same old pattern of how you address a patient, and you're giving them a therapy and cleaning their mind of what harms them, or just how they have to let go of something that petrified them. Whatever chain of creation you're creating on your own good, on your own good creation, you have to understand that there's always going to be a moment where you doubt yourself. Some people doubt more than others. And there's a moment where you have there's a moment where you just feel 100% reassured. And that's a wonderful thing. Whenever you feel reassured, it means that you've taken the right path to your own work and you've made the right assessment. So if you're working in psychiatry, you've actually gained the good psychiatric assessment to do that. So here, as I said, many stories are based on truth, on reality, or I've developed a specific way because I felt people don't have the same stories. And they shouldn't be held to stories if they're not yours. And if you want to be held to them, which people can, you have to kind of set free that you're not that person, but you like something. It's like myself, I like a dress. Oh, look at that. Somebody did that dress. Oh, I like it a lot. I wish I could wear it. I wish I could purchase it. Can I purchase it? So I think people have that kind of mindset, right? You give yourself the opportunity if you can have something. Now, here it goes. For myself, as I said, don't judge me, but some people will more than others. Whenever I was a very young kid, I used to pray to God. We go to school. I used to go to school. I attended for long hours, so that's why it's always very. And many people, they kind of have that background. I attended school, and at night I would pray to God, and I would pray for so many things. And you hear often priests say, God gets tired of people. He's like, Jesus God, I'm so exhausted of these human beings. And I always thought it was a funny thought, but I think it's nice because God would listen. So in my prayers, I would always ask everything I wanted. And among that was always, when I grew and I was mature enough, I would ask sexuality, a good man in my life, somebody who understood me and who would embrace me. Now, a lot of people, whenever they come and they have to encounter and embrace their children, there's different dedication and different level of education we give to our children, that we allow ourselves, that we permit ourselves, or that you want to participate with them. Rather, she's an actress. Imagine myself, if I would have a daughter and she has to do the character of the biggest blah, boom, 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 and I'm the mother watching, I'd be like, I know a lot of people would feel horrible, but I'd be laughing a little first because it's funny because it's a character. Then it'd be funny that you have to feel that way. So Jesus Christ, I didn't know you felt that way inside of your own humanity, inside of your own womanhood. And then it makes sense because she's a woman, right? So whenever you're dressing as a woman, women do feel woman in many specific way, in many different approaches. So I would feel a laughter, and then I would question many things. And some children are very close to their parents, some are not. So follow this thought. Sometimes if they're not actors and if they're not people out there, but they're just living their sexuality, and this, I do say it, if they have ex-boyfriend, let's say myself, I did mention some ex-boyfriends, some ex-friends that I dated. Some it wasn't serious. We weren't at the same place at the same moment. Some people were from abroad. Some people we couldn't see each other. So obviously it wouldn't work, or it didn't work. And what I have to say is that I always wanted to have a life that somebody's next to me. So having people that couldn't understand that, for me, it's It's a major act of it's unthoughtful. If you cannot accept that, I always ask that if you cannot accept that it's something that I request in my life that I don't understand, what do you see in myself? Isn't that the good grace of living to want something with somebody else? If it works, it's great. If it doesn't, wouldn't you want something of that kind with somebody else when you have taken your time, when you find your own self? And it's not a void. I'm not creating void to people. I'm not going everywhere and just, oh, you have to go through this. I'm not doing that. I'm speaking about myself and addressing sexuality in a proper way. So how you approach sexuality, whether you're a parent or the child adult, because a lot of people are the adult, you have to understand that you must be aware, and they have to be aware of your surroundings, what you want. But you have to be very accepting of what you've done to achieve that. So for an ex-boyfriend, let's say an ex-boyfriend didn't give you the time, he didn't allow you to explain yourself, or he didn't want to explain himself, or he didn't want, sometimes he's not into you. I've been saying this all day and I'm like, he wasn't into you. And it's not that I make fun of myself, because I find that it's not funny at all. People, whenever they're not into you, you have to be accepting. What is it that didn't make them like me? Whether it's your personality, whether you had to scream, whether it's your pajamas, whether it's the smell. I have none of those issues. I don't think it's my pajama. I don't think it's my perfume. I don't think it's my hair. But it might have been something that you said, or whatever it is, you have to embrace that knowledge that some people have given you, and know that you take it for the best in your own life, in your own womanhood. So whomever does encourage, and if they're always there after you, let's say a cousin's always there after you, trust me, baby. And this would be my advice to my daughter. She's not helping you. What she's doing is making you go slow in your life. And what helps her is you guys can hang together, and that's great. But to be in love and to be with somebody, you need somebody who really, really is going to give you the space and understanding that you guys don't have the same path, even the same destiny. So you have to understand that that does help. Whenever people understand their own roles and their own demands or needs, just another example. I always requested that I wanted a man with one flower. I love flowers. I never request much of men in flowers. Never. In my life, my mom had that also, and I never wanted to copy her. So I always said I want a lot of flowers. And then I realized that I love men whenever they just offer one flower, whenever there's one detail. And there are specific people who would always say that it wasn't true. And it is very true. So I always thought that it was very much disgraceful that they didn't take it seriously. Because some girls really always request something, and there's something that I do in my own living, and they don't have to do with your boyfriend or a husband who would do that. It would be more myself. So that would be more personality, unless the man suggests I would want to do something. So there you have the compromise, how people understand each other. So among sexuality, if we keep the radar on sexuality, you have to understand that whenever you have a demand or whenever you wanted something, people get angry. Men get angry and they're like, girl, you don't get it. And then girls are like, no, he doesn't get it. So you often go back and forth with people saying that, and you're like, oh Jesus, people really don't get it. So we're just gonna put as people don't get it. And we proceed with the intelligence and the logic that whenever you request, there's couples that have been separated for so many years. And then you have them reunite and you're like, wow, that's nice. And you have couples that have redone their lives and they're very happy. There's people that are married and they're happy forever. So whenever you question them, you were always married. Obviously, you wouldn't understand, right? You can't, because it's not your story. So kindly, people, do acknowledge that. I'm saying this for myself because, as I said, as a kid, I used to pray for what I want. And then you have all that development. I don't want people wanting to be all after me. It's not your intimacy. It's not your privacy. When I was a kid, another detail, I was never told, we never discussed much anything about the first act. In my family, it was we had a specific education, then there was school, but there was many things that people can approach, and I would do so with a daughter. You don't have to be ashamed, you don't have to be scared, you don't have to be, it's gonna hurt, or people don't have to say or deny that it doesn't feel good either. In Spanish, there's many different expressions, but you have to accept that it feels good. And sometimes whenever it's their first experience, if we're keeping it on the first experience, or they're keeping it to an experience, it is not right that people don't want to understand how a person can feel. If you're not living sexuality, if you decided, and I'm taking the same advice, listen, young lady, you didn't have no one. Let's say Jennifer didn't have a boyfriend, didn't have a man next to her. You didn't have no one. So you can judge how, no, I can feel the same way, how desperate I might get some moment. But there's a different approach, or we have different attitudes and personalities, or how we live our lives, or different moments in life, or different commitments. So you have to understand that some people might say that of myself, and there's a boundary where there's absolutely right, and then there's a boundary where, it might be a flawed perception, right? Because there might be other details that in my privacy, I don't have to give to no one. I don't have to provide information to others. I don't have to give them that information. So the doctor here, I was very distrustful. I was angry at doctors. You don't understand that in my system of therapies, it was written, women are not being disgraced, and I'm battering them so they don't have their happiness. I'm not doing that. What I create is that they understand their own being. Your weakness, your flaws, that's yours. I'm an owner. I'm a business person. If I have somebody next to me, you have to understand who I am in that phase of my living. I'm not 20 years old anymore. At 20 years old, I used to have this personality. And I used to be literally sometimes diminished by my parents because they would get angry. They were like, Jennifer wants to decide everything. And they would trust me in many things because I was the one always taking notes and going back and forth and things. But sometimes they would be like, she's too much, over her head. So you have to have that good advice of don't get too overboard, but do the work for yourself. So it took years for myself to develop much what I want, and I didn't bother others. I didn't, and there's things that I do say because people don't want to understand that life cannot be wasted. You want to waste your life, perhaps. Some people might want to. So doctors, to understand, when I requested you have to pay an owner, you have to follow the law, you have to do this. If you have parents there, you don't have to have parents. You have to all of this. In that country, they took papers. Clinic, you're not permitted legally to take any legal paper if they're within Canada or within the U.S. Those are laws for these specific citizens. If the resident, you have to follow similar laws, if not regulation, and then you go back. That's how I proceeded. I'm giving you an example, but it's a close to truth example. But people have to understand, you're not Jennifer. In this story, you're not myself. Don't feel bad, but you're not myself, obviously. But if you're a doctor and you didn't respect the law, it wasn't kind, because I wanted my life. It's not a brother to live that story. It's not a sister. People have to understand that whatever you did, there's a moment where how you judge me, I think God will judge you at some point. In life, we all have laws, and then there might be something out there, and he's going to be, you know what? Now you all pay. All doctors, there was protocols and laws. You had to follow them. Not because they want to harass you, but because it works. It functions that way. It works for humanity and for people. So make it happen. When I was working alone, and then people used to get angry, they were like, the Americans are going to get angry. They're not going to like you. Girls are going to be like, she has to decide everything. I'm going to help you. So make a clip. Make me laugh, because I'm not telling you